if you get this thing done, here we are going to look at a couple of things. So when we are looking at getting something under contract, we want to look at numbers first off. The very first thing we're going to look at is this number, this top line revenue, 357. This is in 22. I'll be making some notes here too. 22 net income. They didn't spend very much, but expenses were 175, so they made about 182. That's about normal. Nothing too crazy. 23 was a great year, 550,000, and 100, about the same expenses. Our expense ratio, as you're buying and doing new things in a park and more employees, your expense ratio will probably be different, and we'll go and add this into the underwriting tool. But this is just real quick after you get an email about the information and want to see if it makes more sense to dive into it. So 24 also about on par with 23, about 370 was the NOI. So you can appraisal, and the appraisal has it at 3.7. We have it at 3.1, I think. So there's definitely some room for growth. So real quick, we'll look at the underwriting. So we'll just do this together, and we'll put some information in. So there's 63 sites currently. So when I'm looking at underwriting, I'm doing a quick. I want to look at as many deals as possible, right? So we are looking to underwrite quick and see if it's worth a shot. Now I can usually do that just by looking at the emails and that information, but there is another quick way to do it if you're not well versed in it, or you just want to have it down on paper. I mean, sometimes I'll even just write it down and know and use some rules of thumb. So I always use 50% as my expense ratio when I'm looking at deals. So their asking price is 3.7, and there was 63 units per pad renovation. This is if you are doing some value add. We are not. So this we can detail it and change it a little bit when we are looking at doing the hotel and doing some add-ons. But we're just going to look at it just from the park, because 9 times out of 10, this is what you guys are going to be looking at. Okay? So there's going to be no added on. Closing costs, other costs, that could be an acquisition fee, that could be a lot. We'll get more detailed in this section. But again, quick analysis. We're going to use 50% as our expenses. So this is going to be our all-in cost. Market rent was about $750 to $1,000. So I know that they were doing gross was about $575,000, or we'll use $550 equals this divided by the number of pads. I can't do math. Add another 0. So this is the market rent, and then we need to divide that by 12. Yeah. So about we'll do 775 is what they were thinking. Right? So 775 was their market rent, gross annual potential, vacancy, effective annual rent. NOI is about 278 at 50% expense ratio. So market rent at a cap rate of 7.5. We could probably trend it even a little bit lower once we have operations in place. But you'll see the stabilized value is about 3.7. So we need, that's their asking price. So if we're at about 85% just going into it, no value add, right? So we, after you look at these, you go, okay, well, how do we change that? Now we can do some more things as we get into the detailed expenses in the pro forma, but this number, I mean, even if it was at 100%, and you can do it creatively, there's opportunity there. But really quick, high level, if we're buying it all in at about 85, 86%, it's actually not a bad deal to dive deeper into. And so now let's go on to the next step, and we will dive deeper into it and see where we can pull on some levers and maybe add some things or take away some operational costs or projections as far as what the hotel or a coffee shop or something like that would be on the property. So now if we're moving into some more detailed expenses and the acquisition costs, we'll go to the acquisition costs first. So there's 63 regular sites. I got to go back and find our, let's see where the park map is. Okay, so we have 63 sites. So there's currently got beach access. So we'll do 63 sites. Average revenues 65. Occupancy is bumped to about 40%. So we should be doing asking price 3.100. So the hotel should do this, and I think there's actually 20 rooms. And let's just do 75 as the average. So it should add that. No main house, loads of laundry, camp stores, additional income. So we've talked about doing a coffee shop and things like that. So let's just say that it does another $2,000 a month. That's not what I wanted. Let's just say it does about that. $2,000 a month, another $24K in revenue. We increase the camp store, another 30 grand in revenue. Laundry, I'll say let's cut that down to 20%. Main house. This would be the hotel. So this is not including probably about $350,000 worth of work for the hotel, right? So acquisition price is $17 minus E13, which is, this would be the cap rate after it's all said and done. If you were to sell it at a 9 cap, we would probably want to sell it at an 8 cap. So that's what the actual value would be. So if we go back here to our all-in costs, our per pad renovation, we're probably looking at about $350,000. I'm sorry, that's not per pad, that's total. That's better. So we're still almost at 100% of as is value. However, when you look at the acquisitions and the pro forma numbers, if you were to stabilize it at an 8 cap, you're at 5.13. So essentially you would make, this is no, this is not taking into consideration anything from debt service or anything like that. So there'll probably be another 10% on that side. But if you were to take it and just build it out and sell it as is, where's our total cost in here? This is what you would make. And I'd say minus about, let's call it minus 10% for just costs and fees and things like that. So you can see that you still, if you get this thing done, you'll still make over $1 million, which is amazing. So that looks like a project that we would be interested in doing, right? Seems fair enough. Okay, so let's go and check that box. So let's go and look at what our monthly breakdown is. So we want to know, how much are we going to make on a monthly basis? So we've tallied up our revenue here, right? This is going to be pro forma. This 821. So 821, if we were to take into consideration on-site salary, let's bump this to 70,000. Okay. So what does that look like? We'll go down here to year one. So this is saying that, hey, we will have a loan. So this loan is actually much, much more. This would be on this acquisition price point, which is not true. So we are getting it at around, let's say that our acquisition is around 13%. We'll go 14% for, 12% for all the fees. So about $3.5 million would be our total debt. So you can just plug in 3.5 right here. And not mess around with the acquisition cap rate or anything like that. So down payment, we're looking for about 350 grand. We're going to get a bridge loan, refinance it, do whatever we need to do. Let's even put that to 15% down. Take into consideration that this is going to cost us money as well, or a partner is going to bring it in, something like that. But say we need $500,000 that we're bringing to the closing table. It's at an 8% interest rate. So if we scroll down here to what does that look like for our revenue, our projections after costs. So our expenses, if we're doing about $800,000, our expenses, NOI, $400,000. Our debt service is $260,000. Owner salary is $70,000. We're gonna put back about $100,000 into it. Our net cash flow will be $165,000. Right? So what is that on a monthly basis? Monthly net cash flow. So that would mean that this equals this divided by 12. So we are cash flowing on this property, on this project, after year one, about $13,000. So let's even backtrack that and say, what are we doing today? Just as is cash flow. So that means that even if we just took all of these out, let's just change this to 589. And I'll change it back. But say this number was 589. How does that change things? So if we were doing, I'm sorry, we'll bump it to 612, which is just a little bit more of pro forma and things like that. Actually, let's do this. We'll take this to 550. We should do about $600,000 this year, but it's projected to do 600. So let's just take this and say we took the NOI. Again, this is at 50%. This is high, or could be high. So 299. So after everything, net cash flow is about $37,000, which is not great. It's still, $3,000 a month. And that's just going into it as is. We're principal pay down. We're all of the benefits of owning the real estate, not doing very much value add. Now we have the opportunity to do some value add here, right? So within a year or two, we should be up to that, $10,000 a month in cash flow fairly easily. So that's what it looks like to run through a deal. And this was, 30 minutes or whatever it was long, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. This was a 10 to 15 minute video, right? So is there more to do? Absolutely. Double check. You're going to want to use something like this. My spreadsheets are a little all over the place because I just have random ideas and then I just plug them in. I'm like, okay, well, what happens if we change this number? And I'm not a Excel or Google Sheet whiz, but now we'll get into very detailed insurance, our contract services. Before we were just talking high level, 50% to get to your NOI. Now let's go actually look at the dollar figures down, get an insurance quote. What are we paying for trash? What are the 12 months of electrical bin, gas, water, sewer, and actually really dial it in and see where we can maintain or improve operationally. But within 10 minutes, really for me, within a couple minutes, I should know if I want to deep dive into it. So this only took us 10 minutes, and as I was kind of talking through some things. But there is definitely a deeper underwrite that needs to happen. So partner with somebody, get an underwriter, have them look at all of your numbers, all of the things that you're looking at, and come up with any ideas. But if you want to learn about RV parks and doing deals and bringing them to us and partnering or bird dogging or whatever it is, please reach out to me, send me a message. I can share this tool with you. You can go and use this tool to hopefully partner on our next RV park.